to the eyes. It looked good. It was appetizing. It was something when she saw it, when the enemy deceived her, she saw that it looked good. And number 3, Eve gave in to the pride of life. It's desirable to make you wise. You will know good and evil. That's how he deceived her. He tried to do the very same thing to Jesus. In the desert when Jesus was fasting, he tried to do the very same thing. He appealed to Jesus' physical appetite. If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. Number 2, an appeal to covetousness and emotional desires. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you. And number 3, an appeal to pride. All these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me. But what did Jesus say? Oh no, Satan. Oh no. Away with you, Satan. For it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. That's what Eve should have said. That's what she should have said. She should get behind me, Satan. She shouldn't have indulged herself in this conversation with him. She should have been as far away from that tree as possible. She should have avoided evil at all costs. Get behind me, Satan. Away with you, Satan. But that's not what she did. Back in Genesis, she took of the fruit and she ate. She took the fruit and she ate it. Listen, guys. The enemy can tempt us. He may even be able to deceive us. But he cannot make us sin. He did not force that fruit down Eve's throat. He did not make her do it. She did that all on her own. Yes, she was deceived, but she made the choice. And we all make our choices in life, don't we? Choices that bless us and choices that curse us. And Eve suffered the consequences of her sin. And then she gave also to her husband, and he ate. You see, Eve was tricked. Eve was deceived. But Adam, he sinned with his eyes wide open. He knew what God told him to do. He knew what God told him not to do. And he allowed it to happen. Now some say that Adam saw that Eve had eaten from the tree that was told not to, and he knew she was going to die, and at this point he loved her so much that he did not want to live without her, so he also ate the fruit. But I don't buy that. He made a choice that day. And because he did, Adam alone bears the responsibility for the fall of mankind. Because of Adam's sin, because of Adam's rebellion, death entered into God's perfect world. Verse 7. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and they made themselves coverings. You know, prior to Adam and Eve sinning and rebelling against God, they were naked, right? But they didn't realize that they were naked. Why? Because they were clothed in the righteousness of God. They were clothed in God's light. That's what it says in Psalms 104, verse 2. It says, "You are clothed with honor and majesty, who cover yourself with light as with a garment." They were clothed with the righteousness of God. And as soon as they ate from the tree of knowledge and good and evil, that light left them. And they recognized their shame, which is a good thing. I'm glad that they recognized their shame, but they did something that I don't think was very smart or wise of them. They went and they made themselves coverings out of fig leaves. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a fig leaf is like, but it has like a prickly substance on it. So when they made themselves coverings of fig leaves, I bet you they ended up with a pretty awful rash. Verse 8. "And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden." This is so sad. This is so disappointing. Up until this point, when Adam and Eve would hear the sound of the Lord walking in the garden, they rejoiced. They were ecstatic. They loved to hear God walking in the garden. He's here. He's fellowship. We are fellowshipping with God. We are here with the Lord. Praise you, God. We love you, God. But now, instead of rejoicing, they hid among the trees, hiding their shame. Can we hide from God? No. There's no way we can hide from God. He's everywhere. He's omnipresent. There's nothing we can do to hide our sin from God. He knows what's in our heart. He knows what's in our thoughts. He knows what's in our mind. He sees what we do. Oh, everyone around us may not see what we do. We might be able to hide things from our wives. We might be able to hide things from our husbands. Kids might be able to hide things from their parents. But we can't hide our sin from God. He knows. You know, I see this happen so often. You know, there are people, they'll start coming to church, right? And they're getting plugged in, and they're coming to church on a regular basis, and they start fellowshipping. They start to meet other Christians in the Lord, and they start maybe even serving. They get involved in ministry. Maybe they start serving in children's ministry. You see the tables in the back, by the way. Please stop by the ministry tables after church. There's plenty of areas for you to get involved in. There's a children's ministry table back there. But they start coming to church and they're fellowshipping. They're coming on a regular basis. And then all of a sudden, we stop seeing them. They disappear. Hey, whatever happened to so-and-so? I don't know. What happens is they get caught up in sin. And because they're trying to hide from God, they hide from His people. They hide from His house. They hide from serving Him. They stay away. I've seen it happen, guys. I see it happen all the time. I have people that are serving in children's ministry, and they're plugging away, things are going great, and then all of a sudden they disappear.